So I want to welcome everyone to the Somers Town Board Work Session, Thursday, February 4th. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and be seated. Okay, our first item of business is to open public comment. I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So as we've done in the past, we'll ask if anyone from the public, this is your opportunity to present anything that you want to the town board for discussion. Unfortunately, we have these Zoom meetings and the governor has extended public meetings in this fashion for another 30 days. So this is the venue we're stuck with. I personally can't wait to get back to a face-to-face town board meeting. That townhouse is awful lonely without the public. Hopefully we'll get back there soon. But in the meantime, these are the ways you can come in and be a participant in the meeting. So please feel free to do so. At this time, I'll ask Patty and Tom, any public comment from anyone?
None from me.
I don't have any.
Okay, so as been our practice, let's leave public comment open. Just remind me at the end of the meeting to close it. So if anybody comes in during the meeting, we'll entertain their questions. Okay. A task that I'm not happy to have to do every week or twice a month, which is the COVID update. The good news is the surge from the holidays seems to be over. We were getting 47 new cases, 38 new cases, 16, 17. Today, we got 3 new cases. We have 148 active in our community. And since the pandemic, 1,483 Somers residents have contracted the coronavirus. So it appears, it's really too soon to say, but it appears we're about starting to flatten the curve once again. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there's a national event coming up on Sunday, which, brings all sports fans of all shapes and sizes together, hopefully virtually and not in person, which is the Super Bowl. What we've learned over the last four months is that transmission of the virus happens more quickly in smaller social gatherings. It's when people get together for the holidays, 7 people, 10 people. So for those of you that are contemplating a Super Bowl party, think about Zooming it. No one wants to sit around watching this Super Bowl game with a mask on while you're trying to have a beverage and eating those little hot dogs. But, and mark my words, if everybody does what they're supposed to do on Super Bowl Sunday, meaning social distance, just keep doing what you're doing, social distance, wearing a mask, wash your hands frequently, and keep away from social gatherings, we're going to see those numbers flatten out. If you don't heed this warning, 2 weeks from now, those new case numbers will not be 3 anymore. They're going to start creeping back up. So just a word to the wise. Believe me, I've got the town's best interest in mind. We're all trying to survive this. We have a lot of questions about the vaccine that is now being administered. They included 65 and older now. It's still phase 1B. And there's a myriad of websites you can go to see if there's any openings to get the vaccine if you're 65 and older. If you're under that, still no, you're not eligible. I had a call with the county this week, and I think I copied the town board on it, but I'm asking our police, our fire department, and the townhouse, Parks and Rec as well, anyone that you run across that is homebound, that says they really can't get out, they want to get a vaccination. We're taking their names and addresses and holding on to them, because at some point in time, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, the county is planning to have a mobile vaccination unit where they will come into a neighborhood or a complex and vaccinate people for COVID-19. So that's one aspect that we're trying to get to the homebound, because there really is no other solution for them at this point. Everybody else that's that's 65 and older, that's scrambling around to try. The only places I've heard that have opened up for appointments, and you need an appointment, you just can't show up. The Javits Center, you can keep checking that location every once in a while. That opens up. And if you're a road warrior, you can go up to Potsdam and Plattsburgh.
Yeah. I saw
You can
that.
get appointments up there. But what I have been telling people locally is that the Somers pharmacies and the CVS, and I think some pharmacies in Mayapack, they are taking names and putting those names on a list. And when and if they get their allotment of vaccine, they will go down those lists and you will be getting your vaccine locally. But once again, the state has taken complete control over distribution. And I also heard last week that New York got 300,000 new vaccines to be distributed. That 300,000 over New York State is not a lot of vaccinations. And the pressure that these sites are under, like the county center, the health department has on Court Street, they're giving out inoculations. The Javits Center, and then everybody's restricted by, these are 2-shot regimens. So once you give that first inoculation, you have to have a set aside of that second shot for those people. And that's what's complicating the rollout. If it was just a 1-shot deal, I'm sure this would have went a lot smoother. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So once again, look, I'm proud of the town. We're doing what we're supposed to do. People are wearing masks, socially distancing, and I don't know if you're washing your hands, but if you come in the townhouse, we have hand sanitizer all over the place, and we expect you to use it. And you don't get into the townhouse or the annex without getting screened with your temperature and filling out a medical questionnaire.
And we have a very tough guard at the door.
Yeah, we
making
do.
sure no one slips past her, baby.
Nope. And if you're an employee and you can't tell her what your temperature was when you took it in the morning, she'll take it for you. It's got to be under 100.4. So just a word of caution about this weekend. I find myself in an enviable position of being the bearer of sad tidings. Let's restrict Super Bowl parties. I had to cancel Independence Day last year, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. Yeah, it's been tough. But look, we're not in this alone. Yeah, this is a worldwide pandemic. And I think Westchester County, among others, I mean, we were ground zero for this virus in the United States. And we're holding our own here now. We've taken our precautions and we're taking care of ourselves. So I'm going to leave you with, let's keep up the good work. And that is my update on COVID for this meeting.
Thanks,
Hey, I
Rick.
just wanted to mention a couple of things. I got the shot yesterday. I was lucky enough to get an appointment at the county center. It was super. They're very well organized. It all went smoothly and it was virtually painless. So if anyone's concerned about that, then for the other people, I've been looking for sites, and CVS has just announced that they are going to be a distribution site. 32 CVSs across the state. Doesn't mean every one of them. Today they announced 15. They were mostly upstate. I don't know why they announced those 15. Others will be announced. Hopefully Somers will be one of them. But the other note of caution among good news is that yesterday I was reading an article about a doctor of neurology or something like that at NYU who was cautioning people not so that, well, don't be, remember your mask, et cetera, but that the variants, are so troublesome that they expect that the South African variant and or British variant will be 50% of the cases over the next several months. It will take over. And then she was saying in it that cautioning that they have found the beginnings, I guess, of a hybrid between the South African and British, the British being more contagious, the South African being more dangerous. And, that wouldn't be good news. So in her mind, unfortunately, she said the darkest days are in front of us. So I would just say, obviously, just do what Rick just said, the caution and mask, washing hands, staying away from people, and don't go to Super Bowl parties.
So I just want to say that some folks I know got shots down at St. Joseph's in Yonkers. So that's another spot that seemed to be,
Yeah.
taking people on. And some people also were getting in Sloan Kettering. I think there were branches for Sloan up here in Westchester. Those were open. Just got to keep looking, look very diligently.
And I've also heard for 75 plus over in Stanford Hospital, some people have been able to get the
But I
vaccine.
thought I read somewhere that Connecticut was saying no more New York residents. Don't take that
Yeah.
as gospel, but I thought I read that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure there's the better way. This is just simply a matter of organization and planning. I mean, having people going around like they're on some treasure hunt trying to find where the buried treasure is really just isn't the best way to take care of a public health emergency.
It's ration.
Now
It's
you're doing
ration.
the best. We're doing the best we can, but it really, whatever, it could have been done better. Hopefully we'll continue to do it better. There's only so much we can do, and basically we have no control in Somers. The state does, but there could be a better way. I understand people's frustration, very frustrating.
Well, and it's being rationed. 300,000 inoculations, as Rick was saying, is not a lot, particularly when that really means 150, right? Because there's 2 per individual. So if you got one 4 weeks ago, you're going to take one of those, in the recent future. 300,000. I mean, it takes 3 weeks to get to 1 million, right? There's 18 million people in the United States. I mean, they're trying to cover 2 to 3 million healthcare providers. I mean, just think, you get 300,000 a week.
Yeah.
It's going to take weeks.
When you hear of nurses not being able to get a shot, that just sounds crazy.
It does.
Oh, well, that's the deal.
Okay.
Mhm.
Don,
Hello,
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
I'm well.
Don Bleasdale, the captain of the defense, defending the environment, among other things.
How are you?
is that a solar air conditioning above that window behind you?
That's one of those mini splits. It's just it can heat and cool, but it's just for cooling. So
Mhm. So Don is with us tonight to talk about the Green Building Code presentation. This is a topic, it's not new to us, but But Don, if you could begin your presentation, bring it up again.
Sure. So are you, I actually don't know how to, I printed out my PowerPoint, so I have it in sheets, but are you able to see it and look at any of what I sent you, or
Can you put it up on the screen here?
I see,
Share screen.
what's that?
You
Do
can share
do you
on
have a
Zoom. You can
PowerPoint
share
on your
screen.
computer?
I do, right, so,
Somewhere it says
So-
share screen, I think. on Zoom.
Right on the bottom, Don.
okay, so if I hit share screen, then what, and do I,
If you hit
Locate-
share screen on your desktop, will show you can pick the thing that is open to present.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we let Paul walk him through it?
Yeah, that's a good
He's
idea.
our
Sorry
our
about
video
that.
technician. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Don, so on the bottom of the screen, it says share screen like they were saying. Do you see, just click on that and locate the document.
okay, so now it comes up with, it
Give me a
has
desktop.
whiteboard, so it's not coming up right away in terms of.
Okay, so then close that out and actually open the document. If you just move Zoom to the side, open the document and leave it to the side. So then when you do the share screen, then you can pull it up then.
Okay, so how do I move? Actually, hold on. You know what? I have a PowerPoint icon at the bottom of my computer. Can I click on that?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And now go to share screen and it should be able to pull that open then.
okay. So if I pull this, so now it's giving me my files in the PowerPoint. Do I click on the one I want?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so now I have that up. And then it says share. Do I hit share?
Yes, sir.
Hit share, okay. So I have to sign in to share this. Oh, boy. Oh, now it's telling me I have to sign in to Microsoft, which
Okay.
I don't know if I have an account for that.
Well, before you do that, can you just try the green, little icon on the bottom of Zoom, and then you should be able to pull up whatever you see in front of you. We should be able to see what you see.
Okay, let me try that again. Okay, hold on. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let's see, click on that and share. Okay.
There you go. There
Oh
you
my
go.
God, look at this.
Wow, that was not too painful.
Yeah,
Tom
not
Lee's
bad
the
at all.
master of technology. You're starting to sweat, weren't you? That's when technology's a pain. It's not working. You need it to work. Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so okay, so I will jump right in. So right, so we talked about this as a committee for quite a while. And so I just put together, a few of these 6 or 7 slides, which I'll go through with you. Okay, so speaking of us as a town, we've obviously had, I think, a pretty good track record. We were a climate smart community, which came from all the benchmarking we had done, and we had to meet all those items. I think it was 6 or 7 items we met to do that. We've had several very successful initiatives. Energize campaign a few years back, which is also ongoing. Now it's actually called something else, but we had the Solarize campaign, which we all are, I'm sure, familiar with. Community Choice, which we're in our second, I guess, go round with that. And then currently Community Solar is still signing up new members. So we've I think just on those little points, we've done some good work in the last several years.
Yeah,
So-
Don, we've also replaced all the lighting in town buildings to LED.
Yes, right. Which I think that was probably connected. I don't know if it was. I'm not sure when that happened, but I think part of maybe that was prior to this climate smart thing. We had to do several different items, and that may have been one of the ones.
Yeah, it
I'm not
might have been. You're right,
sure.
right.
Yeah, so I think we've demonstrated a lot of good good work. I think moving towards on a town level, municipal level, but also with residents who've been able to access some of these programs.
Right, and Don, I don't
Yeah.
to interrupt you, but one other thing we did, didn't we adopt the expedited solar panel permit? That might have been a benchmark as well. I remember doing that.
What was that exactly, Rick? Was that?
Yeah, so, for you to put a solar panel on your home,
Oh,
know,
yeah, right. I'm okay.
yeah, there was a whole, and
I wasn't a part of that, but I remember seeing that, and I know that was beneficial, right, for
so
people.
we adopted the expedited solar permit. So we have that in the bank as well,
Just streamline, right?
right?
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just a few things that I came to my head. Um, so um, so and then the past 6 months or so, I'm not sure when they first came out. New York State has what they call this stretch code initiative. So they're basically trying to encourage municipalities across the state to consider going a little bit further than the minimum code that everybody's required to meet. So within that, they contend that it will leads to an average of about a 10 to 12% energy efficiency saving. Obviously, they're trying to get buildings across the map to be more efficient and with their energy use and all that, and also building building slightly better buildings. You're in the longer term reducing operational costs on the building, reducing an environmental impact. Certainly, you would presume and hope that it's going to be a better indoor air quality and better comfort for the home. And then ultimately, better built buildings are going to be valued more. How much and depends on, obviously, I know it's always location of real estate, but I think, and I'm sure there's other data out there on what this is going to mean, but and I'll get into one or two slides later talking about the Somers Crossing, which more specifically, they would have hard data on what those units are costing for energy use compared to a building that was not built to a little bit better, different standard. So basically, New York State is offering this kit that you can, access with all kinds of all the tools and all the ways that you would sort of try to initiate this. So it's one option that if this were to be, whatever, how, I'm not even sure of how the process works, but if this were to be agreed upon, voted upon, and that would be one avenue that they probably lay out all the steps that would go into adopting this stretch code, right? And I'm sure you can, if you have any interest, you could access. It's all on the on the New York State site. Plenty of information on all this code. Any questions on that thus far?
No, I was just going to comment about Somers Crossing. It will be interesting. Maybe 1, 2, 3 years after they're constructed, to see how that geothermal cost, comparing the square footage of, let's say, a Somers Crossing, a townhouse, to the same equivalent size townhouse in Heritage Hills.
Right.
That would be
that. Yeah, that you would find probably a world of difference, because I mean, Heritage, I think that they're kind of like with the heat. I mean, they were done 40 years ago. Is Heritage now? Is it 1980, 1970?
Yeah.
1970s.
Right. So, they were built at a very different time. So it probably wouldn't be a fair comparison. But
it'd be a good.
It would be a good right to know.
Show.
Yep. So let's see, I'll click on my next one. So Hastings on Hudson has had a green code on their books for probably since 2012, 13, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2013.
13, yeah. And I months ago, I guess it was pre-COVID, so it had to be over a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
I met with the building inspector there, very graciously sat and chatted with me, talking about it, largely pretty positive about its impact there, how they went about it. I mean, their code their code probably would exceed what this New York stretch code is. Although because it's, very, has a bunch of other elements that, we may not have to wouldn't even consider. Deals with stormwater runoff, irrigation, native plants, EV charging stations. Although that's actually, probably becoming more relevant with the push to electrify, vehicles. Light trespass, which is just about basically trying to make better lighting for all around. So yeah, I put enacted in 2013. I don't know of many others in the state, to be honest, that have a code. Probably that might be the most, the greenest code out there, as far as I know. And they're, right in our backyard.
Mhm.
So
It's my
with-
hometown.
yeah. Oh, is it your hometown?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it
that.
was pretty green back then too.
Was it
A lot of
really?
trees.
So just if you can, and I don't know if you're going to be able to make this.
Don,
brief.
before you go, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So the New York State is asking towns to adopt this so-called New York State Stretch Code Initiative. Is that right?
They are. I would say suggesting, asking, offering this as an opportunity. Yes.
And does that, so for example, years ago, they asked towns to adopt the Complete Streets Initiative, which we did. All it was words. They didn't offer us any support on that. And it's always seemed to me a strange thing. If you want us to do it, did you offer any help? The New York State Stretch Code Initiative, which I support, as you know, Don, you and I've talked about this so many times, anything that will save energy and protect the future of everybody on the planet, I'm in favor of, but does it come with any help and are there any mandates, or this is something we would do because we want to be a green community and we want to be in the vanguard of change to support others to do so likewise?
Well, right. This is an optional thing, right? The building code is to my knowledge, it's constantly evolving, right? There's a new something comes up and you have to do R21 in your walls, right? If you have a 2x6 wall, it has to be up to that. They raise your upper envelope of your house, your where you have your insulation, whether it be in the roof or the flat, that keeps getting raised to now it's R40. So that's always happening incrementally. This is sort of on probably a couple metrics. It's just trying to push it a little bit further, because I think the code is like a 3-year cycle. Maybe you're operating on the 2015 code, and then there's a 2018 one, then maybe this year. You know what I mean? So they're drawing off a code that's continually, evolving and adding new things. Maybe it's actually. I'm sure there are times when maybe they amend the code to change certain things that were not received well. I'm guessing that's probably true too. But certainly New York State is supporting this with like a toolkit of how you would go about this. Obviously, there's all the legal, because your building code is I guess considered law, right? It's considered statute in the town. So to change that, I think any town has the right to exceed the code, but you obviously can't be deficient of the code, right?
So Don, can you frame out, 1 or 2 instances in the code that you want to stretch?
Well, specifically what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Well, so just to give you, this is just one, like this next slide I have. I don't know if you can actually read it. If you might have to open up a little bit. It's.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
better.
there you go. That's
That
good.
helps. Yeah. So you have, so in Hastings codes, you basically, let's say you need to have 5 points, right? That you can draw from 30 items to get you in compliance, right? So, putting geothermal heat, that's like a big one. That's 3 points. So you're 60% there with geothermal. Then there's like HRVs, which are a mechanical thing that if your house has got a very good envelope and it's really tight, you actually have to have additional ventilation, which will bring in the air from the outside and ventilate your home. That's at one point. You have solar, solar panels is going to give you a big bang. Harvesting, rainwater harvesting, getting a cistern and having stuff run off your roof, right? So basically you have a menu to choose from. So you're not being told, okay, you got to do this per se. You still have to do more, but you're getting a choice of how to, where to pick from.
So
And
what do you
this is
get for the
just
point
one-
value? I mean, when you accumulate the points earned, what does that get you, a rating or
No,
tax credit or what?
no, the point that, they're wanting buildings to be more energy efficient. So they're saying, we're not going to tell you exactly what you have to do. We're just saying we need to do a little bit more. And let's say out of these 30, 40, 50 items, you have to amass 5 points, right?
Okay, so if I'm building a 20,000 square foot building,
Right.
for me to get a building permit, I have to amass 5 points on this list. It's like a menu, right?
Well, to do any kind of new project, whether it be commercial, residential, you would have to, right now, right. You'd have to basically, unless you were to like, see Somers Cross, I'm guessing they probably would meet this because of what they did. Now they didn't do that because they had to. And obviously they're not in the charity business. They're in a business to make money.
Well, I'll
They're-
correct you there. They couldn't put in any type of fossil fuel because they're in a underground, what is it?
Well, it was a watershed there. They could not put, there was some sort of restrictions.
An aquifer or something?
Can't have
There was
fossil
there was a
fuel
zoning
on that
restriction.
acreage.
Yeah.
So they couldn't use, like gas
Underline.
or propane to heat or oil, you mean?
Yeah.
Right, they couldn't use oil, possibly electric, but in lieu of that, they went with geothermal, which they have had experience when, this is the first time they're building townhouses, but they have had experience with their other single-family homes using geothermal and very successfully, so they just brought that knowledge and technology to Somers Crossing. But I agree with you. If they were built in Hastings, I'm sure they get 15 on this list.
Well, because for the solar, the geo, those are your big bangs, right? Those you get halfway to it. Then you have to just, like there's rainwater construction waste management. If you're more efficient with the waste from the project, that gives you a point. So my take, and the inspector, I think his name is Charles in Hastings, didn't seem to think that it was so onerous that businesses were leaving the town and not building. They were obviously continuing to do it. And across the map, if you go, commercially, I know like in New York City, a lot of buildings are being built. There's also what the LEED standard, LEED. It's from the USG Green Building Council. There's different ways to make buildings energy efficient, right? And if you're inclined to do it, you're trying to reach certain metrics, and then companies get hired to sort of help you reach that and do that. So this is just an example of what they've done. The stretch code, it probably is simpler than this, I'm guessing, and certainly probably not. Maybe it's approaching this because this was still 7-8 years ago. What do I have here? So then this next slide, how do I make it smaller?
So
Make
this
it smaller.
chart is from Hastings, Donnie, that you just showed us.
That's an actual like worksheet that
From
goes
Hastings.
with there.
And so builders who come in, it says here, indicate below how you will achieve 5 points. So builders who come in must achieve 5 points in whatever way in order to build there. Is that the point of that?
Right, and there's
And how they do it is up to them. It's a menu you choose from. You get 1 point for this, or you could get 3 points for that. But
yes.
You got to get 5 points. So that isn't very onerous, as you say.
Well,
And this is similar to what the stretch code is asking for though not specifically based on the stretch code. In fact, it predates the stretch code. Am I right?
Yeah, the stretch code is relatively new.
Right.
And it's basically, it's a whole kit as to, breaks down what they're, you know, what you're actually, how you're going to stretch the code, but it's also a kit on how you would go about trying to implement in your own municipality.
But the goal is similar to Hastings in the sense that you're looking to reduce energy consumption, to put it most simply. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah, and ultimately, right. I mean, ultimately, you know, putting aside whether you cared about this or not, you know, how this is, I think, finding more traction is the return on investment on energy efficient measures is actually pretty good, and it's worthwhile. You know, you're going to spend a little bit more upfront, clearly, but and I think the stretch code talks about, you know, maybe your turnaround from using that code might be anywhere from 6, 7, 8, 10 years, right? Okay, that's not 1 or 2 years, but it's not like you're throwing money away. You actually are gaining something, and along the way, you're going to have a building that, whether it's residential, commercial, ideally is going to be a little more efficient, better performing in the sense that it's going to be more reliable in terms of how it keeps its heat and it's cool, right? So you're not just saving money or trying to invest to save money. You're getting a little bit better product. It should be a little bit better product.
So you're saying Croton, this is mandatory then?
Hastings on Hudson, yeah.
Hastings,
Right,
I'm
they
sorry.
enacted this and have done it, yeah.
So one concern I've always had whenever this topic comes up is, and you did touch on it, is the burden that it would put on developers. So, and you said that the building, and I would really like to hear more about that from Hastings, you know, how the developers reacted to something like this. It's obviously, you know, he's saying it wasn't that onerous. It didn't run developers off. You know, that would be my fear, you know, especially in this climate, no pun intended, to put more burden on developers, I mean, who are struggling as it is.
Mhm.
So, you know.
Well,
So Rick, maybe, you know, I agree with that, you know, but maybe you put this out to, you know, the Carneys, the Boniellos, the Mancinis, have them look at it and give you their feedback. I mean, some of this stuff could be part of their marketing plan, you know, it could be optional things offered to prospective buyers, you know, and say, yeah, I like this, this, and this, and I could put these in there, you
Well,
know, and
I like Richard's approach to it also. Well, if you do this, can you get a tax credit?
Well, right. That's a good question. I mean, right, because obviously, like with Energize and all, a lot of these programs are geared up to try to incentivize people to do these things in some way, whether it's low cost financing or something, right? I'm not sure if that is part of what Stretch is doing, and
there could be grant money hovering around these initiatives also.
right, but Anthony, I would probably bet that Boniello for sure, with Somers Crossing, and probably Ken Carney too. They have, I mean, they're a much bigger animal, right, than your smaller contractor. They probably have it. It's easier for them to maybe adjust to this than maybe someone smaller, which, you know, to deal with that, you could probably put a dollar value maybe on this and say, you know, under 75 or 100,000, you know, over a certain amount, we would want you to try to do it. I think there's ways to address that concern of not trying to, you know, really aversely burden builders. It can also be phased in. I think in terms of whatever you chose.
I'm just trying to size the initiative before you even think about making it mandatory, you know, and maybe the big guys do it and the smaller guys, maybe there are options to work around it, but it may make sense for all of them to do it. I don't know.
No, and I mean, I met with Ryan Boniella, who's, son of, I think, Jim.
Sure, I know, Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, and, he would probably, I'm sure if, and I spoke to him, whatever that was, he would be happy to come and speak about, that, or someone from there, probably, I'm sure they would be willing to come and share some of what they've done. And I'm guessing if this were to happen in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have public comment, right? You're going to have people who would come forward and express for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I was just gonna say that. I mean, there's a whole, we have to have public hearings on it and.
Right.
But why don't we let you get through your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we can talk about next steps.
Yes. So, okay. So the next slide. So the next slide is talking about Somers Crossing.
Mhm.
I believe, what they did there would have probably surpassed Hastings. So Ryan told me, Boniella told me that, like, I think a 2,200 square foot unit was, in his estimation, probably a third of the energy costs of, I would, Rick, probably say a heritage unit, right? Now, they're obviously expensive, more expensive. They're like more of a high ticket item, but the carrying cost for that, you do the math. Let's say a heritage unit, let's say just for comparison, is 5,000 a year, and Somers Crossing is at, let's say it's 2,000. That's $3,000 a year. In 10 years, that's $30,000. Now, did they spend 30,000 more for the unit? They might have, but it's also a more valued property to have. And I think at some point, my suspicion is, homes are going to have, like some kind of energy like stamp. This home is a 10 out of, something. At some point, homes are going to be more directly correlated with their energy efficiency to the cost. My hunch is, because I think it's happening in some places where they're ushering in a way to really show you clearly what this is going to cost you. Like, this home is going to use X amount of dollars of cost a year. And, where now you kind of have, if you're a smarter, more intelligent shopper, when you buy a new home, you're going to want to, the fact that, you got to deal with your mortgage and your taxes, but you're also carrying those monthly costs, yearly costs. People might want to know that I'm going to spend $7,000 or I'm going to spend $4,000. That makes a difference in how you approach it. So, and so my last slide is just saying, only for renovation, new construction projects above a certain amount, cost efficient. And that, as I said, I don't think, we're just jumping on the sustainability bandwagon today. I think we've been demonstrating a commitment over, many years to do some of these things. And this code, whatever code the town, if they were to adopt, could be phased in gradually. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's.
It's good. Yeah, I'd like to get more information on that stretch. I think, and the things around it, but that's, you guys always do a great job on the Energy and Environment Committee. So, and we have been ahead. We've been doing this stuff for I don't know how many years. So nice
Yeah,
job.
well, like the earlier slides that, Don talked about. Yeah, there's a number of initiatives and benchmarks. We're smart,
Climate
smart
smart.
streets and a climate friendly town, and
That's great.
and the Energy Environment Committee has been, very good at researching and bringing these things back to the town board. The things that you've brought to us that were not onerous and made a lot of sense, we jumped on, like that streamlined solar permit. I think one of the most recent programs that is a no-brainer is the solar farm initiative.
The community solar, I know, it's really,
And we chose to go with Sustainable Westchester. But that's just a 10% savings right off the bat.
Right. Without doing anything.
it's a no-brainer, right?
And
And you're promoting the development of that, which adds to you know, the whole, the whole
Doesn't
grid.
matter which direction your house faces, you know, you're not gonna have a solar panel on your house.
Yep.
You know, it's just supporting and getting into the program. And you know, that one, you know, I think is
That was a great, yeah, that was right, simple to,
right. So if this stretch initiative had more of an incentive like Rich was talking about,
right,
you know, I think we'd be calling a public hearing for next week.
right.
But yeah, I think we need to talk to some of the smaller developers, number one.
Mhm.
Like to hear a little bit more from Hastings, you know, what their experience since 2013 has been.
Right.
I know some contractors that have worked down there. I could talk to.
Mhm.
But once again, I want to thank you, Don, and your committee, you know, for keeping us current, and you're bringing these things to our attention.
Yeah, it's a lot of good work. And
yeah,
take credit for all the solar panels that we have on the library and the
that was
highway.
great. That was a great little win.
And also,
Highway.
there's one on the school, and they're gonna put another array on the new roof in the school as well
Right.
at some point. So
It's outstanding. Right.
everybody's rowing in the same direction.
Don, I think I read somewhere in your presentation that, you know, this is something that will or probably will be mandatory at some point. So one, did I read that right? And two, do we have any sense as to when those mandates come on board? In other words, if we're contemplating these changes, albeit them good, does it, are there any downsides to it? Is this just a symbolic gesture, or are we doing something relevant by being ahead of the curve?
Well, right. Without pulling out my crystal ball, I think incrementally and sometimes in a little more quickly than others, this stuff sort of, you know, goes forward and they get a little bit more stringent on this measure or that measure. Because the code comes up for renewal every 3 years. I think in most codes, it's called like the IECC, the International Energy Code, you know, code, building code, IEBC. So I mean, the process is always sort of moving forward and trying to and tweaking it and you know, trying to build better buildings. So yes, this what they're saying here is, we know you don't have to do this, but if you're willing and you know, go through the process in your own municipality to ascertain, you know, how the people feel and how the builders feel and how other people feel, you know, are you getting your people, you know, screaming, you know, that's sort of, obviously, you know, you're trying to make the town better, but you're also trying to work with the people that live in the town and have their businesses here. So there's obviously no compulsion here. The compulsory changes happen automatically. And, you know, my sense is it's, and I think absolutely speak to builders and speak to people that, you know, are in this to get their feedback, because I'm sure they have, you know, pluses and minuses they might have that I don't know, or you, to ascertain that. But if you can make it so that it's not, it's a little bit more, which are you trying to sell that, you know, is it a selling thing for the town? Not necessarily. Yeah, I think it's just continuing along the path that we're sort of charting. You know, Bedford, I would think Bedford would have a code like this. They don't, that I'm aware of. Yeah, you know, this just gets the ball rolling, and I guess if I could,
Gets us thinking about it.
yeah, and if there's anything else you need from me, in terms of, I mean, the building inspector in Hastings, I'm sure he would be happy to probably come in if he was a person to talk to. I'm sure you want to talk to some builders for sure. But yeah, whatever we can do to assist, happy to do it.
But
Appreciate
you
that.
know, if we just look at this in a broader sense, if you look at what the surveys say, for young buyers, moving from New York City or buyers who just grew up around here who are ready to buy a home. There are certain things that stand out among things that they want. One is a walkable town near railroads. It always comes up.
Mhm.
Another is this sort of reputation as a green town and homes that don't spend a lot of money on energy. You know, those are things that are consistent among when I read surveys in the Wall Street Journal and others about what young buyers are looking for. So you could make an argument that it's an investment in a house, but it's an investment in a town because it increases our desirability, so to speak, just as a good school system, whether you have kids or not, increases the value of everybody's home to have your
Yes.
school system be known as being excellent. It does bring in, it attracts people. Let me also say this about Donnie. We're lucky to have him as the chairman of this committee, because it's not a requirement to be chairman of this committee that you have devoted your life to this subject. But I do know that Don Bleasdale has. I mean, he goes to conferences in Boston and in New York. He himself is a builder who is trying to build himself a house with zero energy consumption, I think, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah.
we have a chairperson we're lucky to have who his life is what the committee is. It's not just a good citizen who's trying to do something good for the town. It is what he does with his whole life. So he brings with it a world of expertise that educates all of us. And we thank you for that.
I'm gonna have to pay you for
I'll
that
second
compliment.
that.
Coach.
Yeah,
You got to teach me some yoga though. That's the thing.
We appreciate your work, Don, that's for sure.
No, you're doing a good job.
I appreciate all the good work. Thanks.
Okay, Don.
Thanks, Don.
All right, gentlemen, have a good evening.
Okay,
You
too,
bud.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
evening, thanks.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, gentlemen, our next agenda item is number 3, authorize supervisor to execute the following: renewal contract for the town's tax map maintenance with CAI Technologies, and a 2-year renewal of OnSolve for Code Red and weather warning service in the amount of $15,000. We can move those 2 items to the consensus agenda. Pat, is there any reason to move those tonight? Okay. I think most of the ones coming up will be putting on the consensus as well. Number 4 is refer request for stop signs. Well, this will move on. At Warren Street and Hackalaya Brown Drive, and at West Ridge Drive and Lovell Street, to the Somers Police Department, Highway and Engineering for evaluation. So just a little background on this. The stop sign on Warren Street is probably halfway between Route 202 and the stoplight up at Heritage Hills. Now, what's been happening is that becomes a speedway as people fly down to the stop sign at 202 and Warren Street. There's, as you come out of Hackalaya Brown, if you try to take a left, it's very, very difficult because cars are flying down the hill and not stopping. The neighbor right across from Hackalaya Brown, when trying to make a right turn,
No, left turn.
a left turn down the hill, she's got I don't know, I think the arborist was saying it's 100 to 150-year-old tree that when she came to the town and said, could you please cut it down so she could get out of her driveway? And I had Steve Wolfel, myself, Nick DeVito. Then we got Sam Miller, the arborist from NYSEG, and they all agreed they weren't going to touch that tree.
The huge one.
So in an abundance of caution, we decided to, all right, our opinion was a stop sign, a 4-way stop at Hackalaya Brown Drive and Warren Street. Actually, a 3-way stop would be appropriate and would be a safety factor. So that one we want to refer out to let's see what the police department, highway and engineering. Well, I know what highway and engineering feels. And the chief was out there as well, but this is a formality. We'll get their opinions on it. And then on West Ridge Drive and Lovell Street, this is where all of the West Hill enters on Lovell Street to either go south on Lovell or north on Lovell. There is a stop sign on West Ridge making people stop before they go out onto Lovell Street. However, Lovell Street, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is frequently ignored. And that is a very dangerous exit for Heritage Hills residents. There's a lot of confusion. People want to be, and I've seen it myself, they want to be courteous. They're coming down the road. They want to turn into West Ridge. Someone's coming out. You know, there's confusion. They would stop to let that one car out. Car behind them comes right up on them. They're trying to take a left-hand turn. It's very difficult. So once again, we're going to refer that out.
Is that a three-way also, Rick, then?
Excuse me?
That would be.
Is that going to be a three-way also?
Let's see.
You're gonna
There's
put-
one at West Ridge,
Yes,
West
yes.
Ridge going on to Lovell.
Right, so that's one, and then one on Lovell.
One on
north,
each side?
Right, three
Okay.
altogether. So my understanding is we'll refer these out, we'll get their opinion, and then Roland, this comes back to us, and we set a public hearing.
Yes,
Okay, and then at the end of the public hearing, we vote on whether to install these or not.
yep. I will draft a local law for the V and T amendment.
Okay, all right. So I'll make a motion to move that request for review out to highway, engineering, and police.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay, number 5 is to rescind the December 30th resolution 2020 related to the executive order 202.83, suspending the requirement for renewal applications as a condition to granting exemptions. This was that senior citizen exemption. They have to, so the law was they had to apply every year. So we're going to rescind that. And then we replace it with the required amendment resolution. And we can put that on the consensus agenda as well.
I think we passed the resolution already.
We did. Yeah, I'm not sure that,
But I think
Different.
it
What-
changed.
The
It
other-
changed. Something changed, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we passed the resolution saying that we would not require them to do it every year, but we don't know, I think we can only do it for 1 year.
1
Right.
year, that was the original thing from the state, was a 1 year exemption, not a forever one.
Right, but what the issue was back in December, the original executive order set it up as a local option. And then a few days after you adopted what you adopted in December, the governor changed the executive order and he made it mandatory.
Oh, okay.
So for seniors not to even have to come in at all. We thought that what Teresa wanted was embedded in what you had done, but she would rather have it more explicit. So she's asked that what you did in December be rescinded and that now you adopt this new resolution.
Which is consistent with what the governor said several days after we adopted the first one.
It will be, yes.
Okay,
Does she want that simply because it's more clear and it puts more teeth, or
Yes,
Certitude
and
into it?
it's what other communities, what her colleagues have done. So she
Just to
wants
be
to be
consistent.
consistent with them.
okay, I
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, so at the next meeting, this should be on to pass that resolution.
Correct. You'll rescind what you did and you'll pass the new one.
Okay. Okay, item 6, request permission to purchase 2021 freight dump truck, multi-body model from Henderson Products, New York Freighter, in the amount of $221,597 to be reimbursed from CHIPS per memo from Nicholas DeVito, Superintendent of Highways. I'll put that on the consensus agenda.
Good.
Any questions on that?
It's in the budget, right? So,
Yeah, it'll come out of their CHIPS funds.
fine.
Rescind the resolution from March 7th, 2019, approving the purchase of a Ford Transit cargo van to replace the existing E-250 cargo van through Westchester County Bureau of Purchase and Supplies for a cost not to exceed $32,000 due to unavailability of the vehicle. So we're gonna rescind what we approved there. And number 8 is request to purchase the replacement van that is now available, but wasn't on the one we ordered in 2019. So that'll go on the consensus agenda as well.
And it's less money. That's the funny
Yeah,
part.
I saw that too. It's $4,000 less.
Go figure.
Hey, we're saving money. Parks and Recreation, authorize the following per January 28th memo from Steve Ralston, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. Execute the contract with Raymond Michael LTD in the amount of $152,430 for the purchase, delivery, and then installation of playground equipment on the Sourcewell contract to replace the original equipment donated in 1998 by the Donnelly family.
Rick, I attended the meeting when they did this.
Mhm.
So the entire board was in favor of it. One of the interesting things is in taking it down, the old equipment, Steve is going to be able to sell some of it for scrap and actually reduce, I mean, not by a huge amount, but reduce the cost even more by
Well-
doing that. So this is a very old piece of equipment, and they do age. It's the one
Yeah,
closest to the Little League field.
They
Right, so it's got
do.
the snack bar, that whole,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that, when I saw this, go, isn't that like brand new? Didn't it just get there? It's 22 years old. But
27
at the
years, right?
time, that was
I
the newest
remember
one.
the Lions helped build that. I was there.
Yeah,
And we
right.
helped build that playground. That was 1998.
Yeah, I know.
But they were all, they researched it quite a bit, and all of them were very much in favor of it.
The
Right, good.
pictures of the thing look cool. If I was
Yeah,
a
it's
kid,
huge, it's big.
yeah, that would be a great thing there. So I look forward to it going up, and
Yeah.
me not climbing, they can climb. I'll watch
Right.
them.
So B would be allocate the 157,000 from the rec fees to include the above contract, purchase safety surfacing from county contract, old equipment removal and resurface preparation. So that's awesome. So why don't we make a motion to authorize that?
Yeah, Rick, just a quick question. The Donnelly family, of course, who kind of spearheaded this for very good reasons and a very good memorial. That bit of it all stays there, I'm sure, right? The placard, the stone, etc.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Yeah.
any.
I don't think it'll move.
Good.
I'll clarify, but I don't think they're gonna get rid of that now.
They shouldn't. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we all remember when that went in, and to Richie's point, it does not seem that long ago.
True. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Okay, under personnel, we have vacancies in our affordable housing board, assessment board of review, library board, partners in prevention, and some upcoming vacancies, architecture review, parks and recreation. Once again, those upcoming vacancies are most likely going to be taken by the incumbents. And everybody on those boards does do very good work. I'm going to remove number 3 from personnel and add, take its place would be, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Peter Noth and Barbara Tepper as Library Board of Trustees for the Somers Library.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. So welcome, Barbara and Peter. We've met you and both seem very enthusiastic, and we're looking to see some great things coming out of the library this year. So thank you. Okay, proposed consensus. Our next meeting, we'll have 2 public hearings. Most likely have an executive session. Because we have an interview, there is somebody interested in the Affordable Housing Board. So we'll conduct that interview, probably an exec session next week. So with that, Patty, do we have any announcements?
Actually, before you do that, why don't we close the public hearing? Or rather, why don't we close the public comment?
Okay, Patty.
I only always
any-
remember because I have the phone.
Well, this is good. That's why I always say at the beginning, remind me. So, Paul, anybody?
Nobody on this side, guys.
Okay, Patty? No, you don't have, okay. And, okay, so I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay, now with that, Patty, any announcements tonight?
I have no official announcements, but I did promise a fun fact. And then those who
We
know
got
me,
some competition.
those who know me will understand this is my fun fact. According to a 2015 study, sarcasm can promote creative thinking.
Oh, really?
You are one of the more creative, you are one of the more creative people I know, Patty.
Then I must say, you guys are the most smartest people I know.
Most
Yeah, I think-
smartest.
I think we have about,
Most smartest.
I think we have 7 people on the Zoom call right now that
Would agree.
qualify as being sarcastic folks. Okay,
So next week.
so any closing?
I didn't know
comments?
Roland was sarcastic. How'd you get thrown in on that, Roland?
I'll throw one thing out for everybody here. Predictions for Sunday.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Okay,
I think the old guy's gonna do it.
unfortunately, I agree, but
I'm going Chiefs.
me too.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Roland?
religious.
No.
you can't argue with the figures there of the Chiefs versus the Bucks, but I go with the Bucks because Ali
Same
Marpet,
old Bucks.
Ali Marpet from who's an offensive lineman protecting Brady, is from Hastings, where he was also a basketball player, and he went to Hobart College, Division III in New York State, where I did go to school, and so I'm rooting for them because of Ali Marpet.
For the record, I don't think Rich has ever had a comment when we talk sports where it doesn't somehow circle around a basketball, but that's another story.
Yeah, true.
We could talk.
Well, that's a
Yankees if it
perfect
was.
segue, Rich, if I can add on to that point. My 2 fun facts for tonight. One
Oh,
is, of course, Purdue University is in the top 25 for basketball for the first time in a while. I knew you'd appreciate it.
yeah. Yeah. it's
And
true.
today marks the dead middle of winter. So if you're a snow fan, God bless you. And if you're not, like me, you're halfway there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we give a shout out to the highway superintendent
I
for,
was just gonna say that, yeah.
for his team for good work. I mean, I called him and I said, "How's it going?" He said, "If it would only stop snowing." Like it snowed for 3 days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
It was like
yeah,
we were
good job.
transported to Vermont.
That's it.
Unbelievable. But
Yeah. I agree. They all did a great job. I talked to Tom Deegan as well. And I said, "You guys getting any sleep?" No. The roads are black in Somers, but
No, gotta go.
yep. And they did a great job. They really did.
all right.
All right.
So I will make a motion to close our town board work session meeting.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye, so moved. And good night, Somers.
Good
See
night.
you guys.
No,
Night, everybody.
Good night, Roland.
night.